So welcome back to this series on the principles of power. I'm going to be talking for a couple of minutes about the seventh of 8 principles of power, and this is the principle that power over the powerless is tyranny. We can understand this by, first of all, separating out actually 2 types of power. There's what I would call ego power, and on the other hand, something I would call inner strength. Ego power is essentially the power that's derived from external sources, usually the position you might occupy in a hierarchy, and often combined with the symbols that might be used to project or augment that power in some way. But precisely because ego power is dependent on those externals, it's not as self-sufficient or not as powerful as this other form of power, which I call inner strength. So inner strength derives its resources from within, from itself, and those resources would be things like conviction, courage, and indeed will. And because it's full, because it is resourced in that way, inner strength needs no outlet in subjugating others. It's already complete, so it doesn't need to extend its identity through other people. In fact, so full is it, so replete is it, that inner strength actually has enough power to empower others, and that's really the origin of the notion of empowerment. I have enough power that I can give you some too, which is very much the opposite of what goes on in ego power, where rather than empowerment, the tendency is towards rather tyranny. It seeks to subjugate others because it knows that itself has a kind of emptiness at its heart. And it's from that emptiness that tyranny is born. Tyranny comes from what you might call ego power. And what that leads to is the sense, of course, that tyranny is essentially the exercise of power over others for no purpose really other than affirming the tyranny itself. So in tyrannizing others, what tyranny does, what the tyrant does, is essentially to see a mirror in which their own tyranny, their own power, is reflected back. And because it can never be satisfied, tyranny goes on and on. The only thing that can ever really satisfy it or prevent it from continuing on its march is an outside force. So that's why we say, principle number 7, power over the powerless is tyranny.